people around us, they say, can they be that close? Just let me stay for the record. We're giving love and a family dose. We are family. I've got all my sisters with me. We are family. Get up, everybody, and sing. Living life is fun and we've just begun to get our share of this world's delights. Our hopes we have for the future and our goals inside. No, we don't get depressed. Here's what we call our golden rule. Have faith in you and the things you do. You won't go wrong. Oh no, this is our family jewel. We are family.
But I think we're muted. Okay, let's try that again. Good morning, everyone, and good morning, everyone on Zoom. Are we good on Zoom? Thank you guys all for being here. Before we jump in, I want to introduce Emily. She's newly licensed, just joined us. Say hi to everyone. And Zach, still in the process of getting licensed, but soon. So thank you guys both for being here. We're happy you're here. Oh, I love it when there's lots of people here. There's more chairs over there if we need them. And there's one
And
up
one up
front and center. And we have a guest seat. You can be our, anyone that wants to be our guest of the day. You can be our guest. I know. Right, so we should have Laura come up here. Laura, I said, well, I don't know if we should just put her on the spot like that.
Well, we need to talk to you about something.
You're being a good sport. Yes. Just
You can join us for commentary.
hang out with us up here for the day. So, yeah, so Kelly, hopefully you guys read my emails on Friday or Monday, or have been paying attention. Kelly went back to being in production from our managing principal broker. So we love Kelly. We wish him the best. He's still here on Daryl Bodwell's team. So not physically here in this office, but at Keller Williams Portland Premier. And they are busy. They have 3 street houses in the Street of Dreams, and they're busy. So we're happy for Kelly. And then I'm totally going to mess up the slide order, Cole, but I'm going to talk about this right now. So then our new PB is, it's pronounced, can you go down? Oh yeah, Joe Schaaf-Bow is how you pronounce it. But
Put that by his name.
I know, but just start remembering the spelling for your contracts and things like that. So Schaaf-Bow, and he had to go over to, he was most recently the principal broker, the managing principal broker at Inhabit Realty. So they're doing a goodbye thing for him at the team meeting there today. And then he'll be back this afternoon for a meet and greet here with all of you guys. Hopefully happy hour. We have some wine and some snacks in this room. So hopefully you guys can come meet him, get to know him better. He's been in the real estate industry for 20 years and was managing PB at Remax. He was Whitney, you're managing PB. So Whitney has firsthand experience, some of our other agents. So we are excited. Yesterday was Joe's first day. We might have scared him. No, I didn't.
I almost called him
A lot.
I almost called him last night at 5:30 and I decided no.
Oh my gosh, no. Well, now we can. He was already digging in to command and reviewing things, and so he's going to be amazing.
He's gonna be the fire, looking at the fire hose here.
But yes, right? Like we are pretty fast paced, so we're excited to kind of get him caught up on all things KW. So, but yeah, please come by and meet him. And it's great to put a face with the name, especially as he gets to know all of you guys. So, and he will be in the same office where Kelly was, and same email, the broker at KW Portland Premier. So all of that. Phone number is different. So save his new phone number in your phone. Okay, Cole, let's go back. So I messed up the order. Okay, we have a CE class tomorrow, and it is from Foundations First, about just what you need to know about foundation things, how to recognize if something's big deal or not that big of a deal. I know a lot of times anything foundation can sound very scary. So I think his name is David Brown, is that right? He's going to be coming in to teach the CE class. So lunch will be provided and sign up just to make it easier for CE certificates if you can, but otherwise just show up.
How many people walk around their listings and look at their foundations to see if they have a problem before they list their house? Yeah, good idea. I've had a whole bunch of those in my life that have created problems for me. And then I started looking at the foundations and try to get proactive about getting them inspected and get an engineer to look at them and certify them or recommend something.
Yeah, I think that'll be a good class.
Yeah.
So, because it can sound scary. So then we want to thank you and Laura and Jenny for organizing our listing presentation workshop and consultation, and then buyer consultation workshop next week. So those are today, right after this meeting, is listings. And next week, right after this, is buyers. So a lot of our conversations with you guys, you wanted to practice the conversations right now as our industry is changing and with the new regulations that are going to be in place very, very soon, right? I mean, August is around the corner. Next week, literally, is August. So just starting to have those best practice conversations for both listings and buyers. So Jenny or Laura, Pam, you guys want to add anything about today's?
We're just gonna, so we talked about things that added some value to us when we were very new agents and even established. And we remembered some of the top producing agents in the office doing just like role plays, Peter and Ken. So that's kind of what has inspired this. So that's what we're gonna do today. Laura's gonna be my seller.
I love this.
I'm gonna go through what I do for meeting with sellers and prior to meeting them, and then Kim and Laura are gonna do their buyer consult next week.
I love it. That is so cool. So, you guys are all top agents, successful. So it'll be great. It's great to hear from each other. So come to that. You don't have to sign up. You just stay here after the class or after the meeting. And then our summer picnic is coming up in a couple of weeks at Tumwater Vineyard, August 9th. It's Friday, 5 to 8, and bring the whole family, kids. We have face painter. We just booked a palm reader and a tarot card reader. Your balloon gal's out of town. We're looking for a balloon. If anyone has a contact for a good balloon animal person or a magician, we want to do lots of fun things for the kids so that adults can have fun and the kids can have fun, and wine and food and all the things. So yard games, cornhole. So hopefully you guys all can come. It's a really good time to just get together outside of work and get to know each other's families and just hang out in a more personal level. Or please RSVP to that. Just kind of helps us get a count for food and drinks. So if you can. And what else do we have? Brian Miner from Homefront Mortgage.
Everybody, good morning. All right. Yeah, so everyone probably saw rates had a good move last week. Did anyone notice that? Anyone? Yes. All right, good. Okay. Well, we're still, I guess, continuing along that same path. I mean, no major surprises. It doesn't look like we're expecting any, but it's going to be sometime. I mean, we're having a meeting in September, and then towards the end of the year, kind of the consensus is about a 90% chance that we're going to get both rate cuts at those meetings. I mean, certainly no crystal ball. Now, rates may not immediately drop right after the Fed kind of makes their moves, but it is obviously, again, flowing in the right direction. It seems from what I've been reading that it's shifting more from a seller's market into a buyer's market. I mean, this might not be like a specific neighborhood in and around Lake Oswego, but nationwide, that is kind of the direction that we're taking. Homes are sitting a little bit longer. Price reductions are a little bit more commonplace. So it just seems like, again, that's kind of the direction that we're taking. I'd say, in this market right now, probably the good opportunity is that easy equity money to tap into. If you've got clients that are looking to make moves, maybe they're waiting for rates. Again, as we would anticipate, lower rates would equal higher prices. So, something to, I guess, maybe an impetus to get people to move, sooner rather than later. But yeah, I guess obviously something that we're watching. I would say that the news that happened last week with Biden getting out really had no impact on the market. The assassination attempt had a little bit more of a move on the market, but it's again, it's not really playing into, I guess, what's going on currently. And we're looking at the good numbers as far as rising unemployment. That's kind of what we want for the Fed to be able to cut rates. The inflation numbers are coming down, and that's again really kind of the signal that we're looking for to just get what we need out of the Fed over the next couple of months.
Cool. That's what we
Okay.
like to hear.
Yeah, right.
Right.
Okay.
And what happens when you have good news in the media and not the negative news is right. That's what your clients are hearing. So,
that helps
yeah.
the public.
right. There's so much about the public perception when all the headlines
Yeah,
are.
it's a dog and pony show out there. a little bit.
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
We just, some of us in this room went and saw Mark King, our former KW president, last week at a thing. And he talked about how after like the Great Recession, there was a news article on the front of Times, and it said, the real estate market is back. And he said, and it completely wasn't. It was still going poorly, but that just switched because like public perception, like, oh, it was on the cover of Times, so it must be true, right? So it's just so much about that mindset and like what our clients are hearing from the news and all of that. So that's good news.
Yeah, and I would say this has been my thought for the last couple of weeks. Tony Robbins at Family Reunion last year said that business people need to pay attention to the cycles, right? We've talked a little bit about it here. And I know that in Oregon, as in the United States, we cycle where the US economy is the strongest in the spring and the summer. It's weather related, right? Farming happens, tourism happens, all kinds of things combined at the same time between March and July that contribute to the most powerful GDP of the year for our country. And so if you think about it, right now, the 10-year has dropped from nearly 5 down to 4.25, basically. It's dropped 0.75% nearly in the last couple of months. China today lowered their Fed funds rate. Europe did it last month. Japan just did it. So here we are going into the winter. We're still in the summer and everyone's lowering rates. And what that means to me is rates might drop very quickly as we get into October, November, December. And so I would be totally doubling down on everything I'm doing right now to contact people, whether it's postcards, events, whatever you can do. I would be doubling down right now because you want them to call you, to remember you, have you be top of mind if the rates drop and we're suddenly at 5.75 in November or December. Because the phones are going to ring. What happens to our inventory? Remember the cycles of inventory as we go into the fourth quarter and the first quarter. It goes down in Oregon. So what does that mean? Really low inventory and the best rates with pent-up demand in 2 years. And that's the way I'd be preparing my business right now. I would be spending more money. Postcards, mailers, open houses, doubling down on everything so that I know I'm having a good fourth quarter and a great first quarter. Going for listings, ideally, if you can.
Well, then all that pent up demand for both buyers and sellers that's kind of been building, right? The work you do now is going to be what's going to stay in contact with them when the rates do drop a little bit. So what are you guys doing right now?
We just had our big event. We sponsor a concert at Foothills through Lake Oswego Parks and Rec, and we had about 80 or 90 of our past clients come. They get treated to our VIP area and food and wine. And then we have a photo booth out front and a raffle. We have a long list of people to call from that raffle and photo booth. So
That's
our
great.
week this week of trying to reach out to people we don't know. And then we're continuing to contact people we do know, but we are starting to see activity on our listings that have been quiet. I think we put 3 under contract in the last 10 days, 3 of our listings and a
Nice.
couple buyers. And we had a buyer and it was a multiple offer situation yesterday and their offer got chosen. So it's
Cool.
weird that we're seeing multiple offers again too.
That's
And
exciting.
the stuff that happens in 30 days, I think you had 10 active listings
Yeah.
days ago.
Now, I've got, 4 or 5, and it's the ones that have been on for over like 30 days, and maybe it's gonna be extra than the ones that have absorbed in the last like week.
Yeah.
Okay, that's great news,
And
right?
it's not all like roses, like we have two listings that nobody's looking at. One's a condo down in South Waterfront, it's been on 2 weeks, we haven't had a single showing. But we sent a postcard to the entire building and to an apartment building that's next to it, advertising open house for Thursday night and Sunday.
That's an interesting thing, that the condo market, those are.
Mm. That
Yeah,
are sitting in condos.
Smart.
yes.
Yeah.
Interesting. That's really good. That's how you were strategic, right? Who you're sending that to.
You'll see, you'll see.
Do you have any insight about condos overall right now?
No, I just know that in 2008, the condo market was just horrible in Portland because they built so many condos, high-rise towers condos in 2003 and 4 and 5 and 6. And in 2009, I was involved with the Street of Dreams, with the HBA and the Street of Dreams. And we ended up doing an open house like they did this year because the builders couldn't get financing in 2009 to do specs. And so they picked basically condos, luxury condos downtown that were for sale, and then made sure everybody furnished them. And then there was a tour. They had a tour of condos basically. And there were a lot of condos for sale in 2009 and 10. So, you know, I think right now it's probably a little bit of a dogfight. So hopefully you have, you know, something outstanding about it, like separates it from a lot of the others. Otherwise, yeah, otherwise it's a pure price game, you know, it's just gonna be a price game.
2 parking spaces, which is great.
Okay,
2 parking
yeah.
spaces that has its own entrance to the street, which is, I think, for some people a big plus, and for other
Mhm.
people, like, not so much.
Mhm.
So, and free parking at the Merriweather for guests.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
it. Yeah. Cool. Well, keep us posted. It's nice to just hear what you guys are actually experiencing. Okay, so today for our meeting, we always do in October a big business planning clinic where we follow all the Keller Williams models and go through and plan out our whole year. And then some of you guys look at it and maybe some people don't. So I think it's always good to kind of re-look at it halfway through the year and either see if you're on track for where you wanted to be, where you thought you might be, what your goals are, or do you need to adjust either up or down? So, if you have not ever read The Millionaire Real Estate Agent, come by my office and get a copy. Hopefully most of you guys have it. We talked about it. It's like a textbook on how to do sell real estate and treat it like a business. So there's 4 fundamental models. Wow, you want to read the economic model? Sure. Yeah. Mhm.
Formula that describes a relationship between a series of activities and the specific outcomes they produce. It shows you where your money comes from, where it goes, and how much is left over for you.
Yeah, so you have one worksheet in front of you that looks like at the top, it's gonna be your net income. And then it kind of goes all the way down. So you're looking at how much you want to make and then all the things you have to do to get there, right? So the thing about the economic model is it incorporates both the lead gen model and the budget model. Yes, this one, let's hold this, or do you want to hold it up like Vanna?
Yes.
That one. So this is a good one. So now as you kind of look back and we're halfway through the year, a little over halfway through the year.
You want to go to that one?
Yeah, I'll go to the next slide just for a quick step to show you one. So yeah, we're gonna go through this in a little bit more detail, but you start out with how much do you want to net, right? From your money before taxes. So you start there and then we'll work our way down. But that top section where it's net income and your operating expenses and your cost of sale, that is part of the budget model. So now let's go back one slide, Cole. So I'm going to make you go back and forth. Okay. Yes. Wow, read this budget model.
Budget model. A plan for where your money goes between the time you receive it and keep it for yourself. The focus is on minimizing your expenses to maximize your profit.
Right. So managing your budget and making sure it's in alignment. And we'll dig into that one in a sec. And then the lead generation model.
A plan for where your money comes from your lead gen activities. It's a companion to the economic model, since leads are the fuel to the economic engine of your business.
Right. So when we look at the lead, you have the other things in front of you are to kind of go through your lead gen. And so this is the visual of your lead generation. And then this was always a good one just to go through. It's all the different ways that you can lead gen. And there's probably some that aren't even on this list, but it's always good to just relook at that. And then you can refill out this side of the form. So you're looking at, do you have enough contacts to get the results that you want? Do you need to get more? Are the lead generation sources that you're using so far this year, are they working? If they are you going to keep doing them? Are some working more than others? Are you going to switch those around? And then looking at your touches. So we'll kind of dig into each of these. And then the last model, which we're not going to talk about too much today because it doesn't necessarily apply to everyone, is the organizational model. Oh, you want to read that one real quick?
Plan for hiring, help, and talent as your business grows, help you grow your business.
Yeah.
I mean, I would say that the one thing that as you're a new agent, when you're starting out, it's fine if you want to do your own paperwork, but your life will be so much better if you leverage that out to a transaction coordinator and you pay them by the transaction. So that would be, if I could go back in time to my new agent self where I thought I had to do everything.
Right.
Like that's the first thing you should leverage out.
At what level of deals would you do that?
I would do it regularly.
Even when you don't have a deal, you'd find that person.
Like maybe 2 or 3 on my own, so you know what you're supposed to be doing.
Yeah, I
But
agree.
having that transaction coordinator that has all the emails ready, like, hey, congratulations, you're under contract, Mr. Buyer. Like, you don't have to recreate that wheel. It's done.
Yeah. And then what you get to do is go out and lead gen again.
I was
Yeah.
going to say, as long as you're leveraging that time to do something valuable.
Yeah.
Right. If that's kind of the balance there. Okay, so let's go to the economic model. So you don't have to fill this out now, or you can fill it out now and I'll just kind of walk it through a couple things. So you're going to start with how much money you want to take home. And so you could do that for the rest of the year. You could do that for your end of 2024, however you want to look at it. If you didn't do one at the beginning of the year, this might be the first you're doing it, right? So you'll take your net income and actually let's go to the next slide and talk about budget model because that whole top, oh, sorry, 2 more. Okay, so the budget model, a portion of the budget model breaks out your cost of sales, your operating expenses, and your net income. Sometimes at Keller Williams, we call it the 30-30-40. So 30% of your money should go to cost of sales, 30% to go to operating expenses, and then 40% be your income. But if you are a solo agent, which many people are, you're not going to have that much cost of sales. And we'll talk a little bit more about defining those specifically. Your cost of sales is going to be closer to 15%. So then your net income increases up to 55. So what's the difference between your operating expenses and your cost of sales? Does anyone remember? Yeah,
I do remember.
I love it.
Cost of sales is something that happens because the transaction happens.
Yes, exactly.
Operating expenses is something you choose to spend.
Yes, think about operating expenses happen no matter what, even if you have a transaction or not. So like one that sometimes gets confused is like listing photographs, but those are an expense because even if you don't sell the listing, it's not dependent on the transaction. So if you're a solo agent, your cost of sales is pretty much your cap, right? In your royalty.
It's your TC. 'cause
Yep,
that's
if you have,
transaction.
if you have a TC, and then as you get a T,
By closing
it'll be your
gifts.
referrals and things like that. So just think of it that way of, cost of sales as being the things that only happen if there's a transaction.
The
Yeah.
reason, can I say, the
Yeah.
reason that it jumps up from a solo agent to maybe 2 or 3 is because cost of sales includes your assistant. So if I had an assistant and I was paying her a salary, I pay her salary whether I sell a home or not. She is cost of sale. Right? And
No,
so
wait,
that's why it
No,
takes.
opposite.
operating
She's
expense.
expensive. Listing, like if you have listing and buyers.
Oh, excuse
agent,
me, yeah, she's an operating, sorry, exactly backwards.
Yeah,
So operating expenses stay high because you have someone that you've hired.
mhm. And your cost of sales goes up with the team because the portions you're paying to your buyers agents and your listing agents on the sales comes out of that side. So this just, as you look at all of your expenses and how much you're making, it just helps you see, am I in alignment? And a lot of times what we'll see from agents, especially if they're like only a couple years into the business, is that you might not be spending enough money. And I mean, on expenses, right? There might be areas where you could spend a little more on things that have a good ROI. So it's always just good to look and see if you're in alignment. So can now go back to the economic. So up at the top, you can take your net income of what you want, and I'm just gonna like do some, we could just do some easy math, right? Like say you just put 100,000 there, right? And then if you want to figure out what your GCI needs to be to get to that, and say you're just doing the solo agent one, you're gonna divide by 0.55 for the 55%. And that'll get you your total GCI, and then you can figure out your cost of sales and operating expenses. So you can either do this as what your goal should be for all of those, or you can really look at your actuals too, year to date, if you've been tracking some of these things, and just take a look at that. So then you'll take that total gross commission and divide it by your average commission based on your sales price, and figure out how many units you need to sell in a year. So then you'll break that out by your sell side and your buy side. So
Are you gonna be?
some people might be
50-50.
50-50, right? Some people might be more buyer heavy.
50.
Yeah. So do your real percentages if you know them. If you don't know them, for the, like, you can just use like the MRE averages. So for buyers and sellers, it'd be 50-50 if you don't know. So you take that percentage of then the total units sold. And if you need help on any of these, we can help you, but this is just always like one of the best things to come out of the business planning clinic, is just because it kind of encompasses all the models. So then say you're 50-50 and you figure out you need, 10 sellers and 10 buyers, right? So then you divide that by your conversion rate, because just because you have a listing doesn't mean you're going to have a seller, right? So again, MREA averages are for both buyers and sellers 0.7 or 70%. So if you had a listing, or if you had a buyer's meeting, 70% chance it would turn into a sold, right? And again, if you know your real numbers, you can use your real numbers, but if not, you can just use the averages. And then the next level down is what percentage of meetings and appointments with buyers and sellers turn into signed like listings and buyers, right? So the MRE averages for selling on this one is 75%, and buyers is 70%, right? And we'll have to watch that, especially now that it's like you're gonna have to get your buyer signed. It's more of a concrete thing. And then you figure out how many appointments you need. So then you can even take it one step further. If you know how many contacts with potential people or conversations, however you want to look at that, it takes to get to an appointment, you can even go that next step further. But what this does is it helps you decipher if you have enough contacts, if you have enough people that you talk to or that are in your database to get to what you want to achieve. Do you guys do this?
Yeah, and then we take our appointments needed and, divide it by 12, so we figure out how many appointments a month we need to go on, and we try and track those, and some months we hit it, and some months we don't. Right now, I think we're, like, for us, for our goals, we're a little behind where we want to be, so we're trying to figure out how we get our appointments up.
Yeah.
We have to make up for the ground that we lost at the beginning of the year.
Yeah, it's a lot easier to control the number of appointments than to look at the results, right? As far as like the money that you're bringing in. So looking at your appointments are lower than you want them to be. So how do you pick up that?
Yeah, I mean, the other thing that we look
Mhm.
at as the year goes on, is like, where our average sale price, is that
Mm-hmm.
consistent with what our goal was, and it was a little bit down, now it's picking back up.
Mm-hmm.
And we also look at our the average commission
Yeah.
that we're taking, so, and that's down from last year, but part of that, I think, is the way we're accounting for staging, because we're paying for some staging now. So we have some accounting work to do on
Mhm.
that.
But yeah, you guys do a really good job of knowing your numbers and knowing this information.
Is
If you-
staging an operating expense or cost of sale?
It's an operating expense, but the way that
Mhm.
we're paying for it is we're reducing. We have an agreement with a lot of our sellers that we will reduce our commission at closing. So we're not paying for the staging out of pocket up front. We're paying for it on the
If it
back
sells.
end if it sells, and reducing our commission. So then we have to go back on our accounting and readjust our commission.
Yeah.
Like kind of an accounting nightmare, but the advantage to that, if our sellers agree to it, is we're not paying out of pocket for the staging.
Just to have them walk away.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's good.
John DeCosta, told me to do that.
Yeah.
Good. Who else keeps track of all these numbers? Good. I know Whitney, when we did business planning, you were like, well, I've never gone through all these numbers like this, right? And it's just good to check it. If you don't know where some of your numbers are year to date, you can always ask any of us on our leadership team and we can help you pull reports or show you where they are. But you have really good reporting on all of your numbers for the past years too. So you can see how you're tracking year over year. So any questions on the economic model?
Green, this might be a dumb question, but you mentioned business clinic.
Yes, no dumb questions. So every like October, November, we do a big business planning clinic where we go through all these models and there's a big workbook and it's like.
We'll go through every line.
It's supposed to be a 2-day class. We smash it into like a 4-hour class. But you come out with a business plan for the year, right? And it's all based on these models. So we're doing like a super condensed version right now. So if you haven't seen all these before, it might be seem like a lot, but just think of it as like the tool and start working on like the rough draft of the numbers. And if you guys who haven't gone to business planning clinic, we can help you go through some of this because it helps you figure out what you can control. Like you can control your contacts, you can control your appointments. And it like just puts it into more bite-sized chunks. Like you're eating an elephant bite by bite, you know that. Little bites.
Healthcare.
Yeah, I don't know.
If you use QuickBooks for any of your accounting, you can actually import the MREA chart of accounts
Yes.
into
Love
QuickBooks,
it.
which makes when you want to report these numbers out, like to your coach or something, you're all speaking the same language.
Yes. And if you're not tracking any of these numbers, you should start today. Start for
Do
the
it.
second half. Yes. And so you all have, I'll post or send out a digital version, but you have this, so you can start doing that. Now let's look at the lead gen model. So by the time you get to the very bottom of the economic model, you have appointments, but if you want to take that one step further and get to contact, then you know how many contacts you need to make. So basically, as we look at this mid-year and you have the business plan one, and these are, I printed these out of, these are just specific pages out of the business planning clinic guidebook. But the top part of it looks at just, do you have enough contacts in your database to achieve the goals that you want to achieve? If you want to, make 300,000 and you have 60 people in your database, that's probably not enough, right? So so just looking at that, right? Or say you have thousands of people in your database. Okay, you might have enough contacts, but how do you turn those into, or leads, you might turn them into contacts. So just like for MREA language to make sure we're being consistent. So a lead is somebody you either haven't met or you haven't engaged in a two-way conversation with, ever. And then a contact is somebody you either know or you've engaged in a two-way conversation with. So some people call them METs and haven't METs or, different things to call them, but just kind of looking at that of, do you have enough people in your database? And if you don't, are you doing things to add more to your database? So like, are you hosting open houses? Are you joining networking events? Are you, doing anything to talk to more people? Want to add to that? Contacts? Do
No, I think we've,
you guys have enough people in your database, Laura?
We do, but we have a whole bunch of contacts that are truly leads, people we have not met. And figuring out a way to connect with them is probably our biggest challenge on turning a lead into a contact. Well, we have the contact, we have their name, phone number, maybe we probably have their email, and then it's like, what do we do with that
Totally.
information?
So we'll skip that middle section for a minute and then go down to the bottom. So it's that a lot of us have heard of the 36 touch. Well, now there's some updated MREA stats that it takes an average 19 touches a lot of times to convert someone from like a haven't met to a met, and then or 36 to convert them to a met to a sale. Right. So that's what that is. The 19 touches or the 36, but no matter what, you got to figure out your touches to your clients and your future clients. So, it's good to lay this out to see if you have enough touches. So what do you guys do for your annual touches to your?
So everybody gets a newsletter
Mhm.
once a month.
Okay, so that's 12.
That we write it and, we do postcards to our sphere. We do the quarterly postcard to everybody in our database that we have an email address for.
How
Okay,
big's your
So
sphere?
that's 16.
Our sphere people we know, probably around 700. So yeah, everybody that we have a physical address for, that's in the Portland metro area gets a quarterly market update postcard.
Cool.
Everybody gets a monthly newsletter. Our database gets routinely invited to different workshops and events.
And those are all touches, even if they don't come, those
Yeah.
touches of inviting
Yeah.
them,
Every
right?
time we have a listing in LO, all of our LO people get the just listed postcard for that, or just sold, or a fire closed, whatever it is we want to talk about. And then we just started farming to specific neighborhoods in Lake Oswego for, to try and get some new business. And I think Pam had our first listing appointment from that effort, and that's a listing and a buyer, I think.
Yeah, we did, we just started that.
Yeah.
Cool. That's exciting. So it's a good time to go through, what are you doing to touch everyone in your database? Events count, what else? Is anyone doing what else are people doing that we haven't said? Oh, quarterly calls, just actually calling or texting, it doesn't have to be, fancy, right? It can literally be, I'm going to text everyone once a quarter, personally text them, or, different things like that. But what else are people doing to touch their database?
We did like Popeyes in October.
Yes. What'd you drop off?
I think we did a You've Been Boozed with a
You've been boosted, yeah.
Oh, yeah, I like
How
it.
many did you delivered?
We
We delivered, yeah, we took a day.
And we did the most like recent clients
I
that
think we
had
did like
purchased,
15.
purchased or sold with us, so, yeah, it was, ended up being like 15.
Mhm.
Cool.
One of our top referral. recent ones.
I would double down on any of that Popeye stuff this fall
I
or
was-
next year. This is a
Yeah.
year where rates are going to go down. I've been through many of these. They behave very similarly. You have pent up demand. The rates tend to drop pretty quickly. Hopefully this behaves the same way. And suddenly, if you've been touching all these people, they call you.
And our best agents are the ones that have systematic touches in place, right? Some of them are going to be personalized, right? But there's still a system to it, or there's still an awareness of, I'm going to send everyone a birthday card once a year. That's
yeah,
going to
we
be
do
a
that too.
touch, right?
Yeah, birthday and home anniversaries we do.
Focus on a home. We actually created our own drip campaign, so it's not we wrote it all, and so that day you wrote that. Like they purchased a home, we get that every month.
Okay, so you guys are
Create
doing a
your own
really good
artwork.
job of the follow-up.
You create your own artwork then?
Yeah, and the content for the newsletter, but it's once we put it all together, it's now just on the annual. I think everyone, if they close in January or August, they start into that campaign, whatever month it is, then they go for that. year.
And it's a lot of home maintenance tips.
Oh, yeah.
Like it's,
That's great. What are some things you can set up if you don't have marketing people and a ton of time? What are some like easy things you can implement?
birthday and anniversary, home anniversary are easy.
Yeah, those are pretty easy.
Like quarterly postcards or something.
Yeah, somebody's saying that. What about like the monthly neighborhood nurture emails and command, or just a monthly newsletter, either emailed or printed, however you do it? I mean, those are pretty like simple things. And Cole has still been creating the monthly newsletters in command that are more localized. So if you don't have tons of systems, you can still set up a couple, I mean, two things a month. And the neighborhood nurture, if you don't know it, is an automated email in command that just tells people what's going on in their neighborhood. Everyone wants to know what's sold in their neighborhood, or what's for sale, or what's going on in the neighborhood. So that's like a really easy, already made one. So right there, that's like 2 touches a month. without having to put a ton of effort into that. So anyone want to add anything about touches?
No, I did see a really cool event. One of our, Christina Ward, who's in Boise, she did a really cute video on Instagram and said that they were renting out a pool, like a neighborhood pool. It was like a really nice pool, and they're renting it out for 4 hours. And if you wanted to be on the invite list, log in here or something. And I was like, that's clever.
Oh,
And of course, she's like, 6 feet tall and this big and bikini in the video, but it was still really fun and creative and kind of a cool way to do an event.
that's so cool. And I'm glad there's a lot of events that you could do that aren't super expensive, right? You could do a class, a seminar, like things like that aren't expensive. It could just be a networking event, right? Like, then there's more expensive events, obviously, but there's some simpler things you can do if you don't have a ton of money for expenses and a ton of resources to put the time in. So, going back up to my lead generation sources, I want to look at this, and on the back of this one has just a bunch of suggestions for lead generating activities. So, you just want to make sure you are looking at what sources are you getting your business from, and looking at the time that you're putting into those, right? Like if you're doing open houses every weekend, but you're not getting the results that you want, right? Like you're putting time in, but you're not getting the results. Let's look at that. If you're spending money on Facebook ads and are you getting enough results to justify that ROI, right? So the ROI is either your time or your money. So it can be your time too. But just looking at the different sources, and you should have no more than like 4 main sources. If you don't have enough, or if you have 2 really good lead generation sources and you want to add a third, most people, Sphere is going to be one of them, right? Unless you don't know anybody, it's going to take time for that. But usually Sphere is one, and then either events or open houses or something like that. But you might need to add another main source. You got any good insight on this?
No, we've talked about, I would just say double down on it, folks. If you want to be busy in the fourth quarter and the first quarter, this is going to be the time.
And on this page that you guys are looking at, it differentiates between prospecting and marketing. What's the difference? Yeah. Yes. Okay. So does everyone know what Jenny means when she says that? Right? Prospecting is so let's take social media, for example. Marketing would be posting a social media post and just helping people see it, right, to everyone. Prospecting would be sending a one-to-one like message through social media, like a DM or like something like that on social media. Does that make sense? And you need to do both. Sometimes people just want to do marketing, and because it's easier, right? It's easier just to send newsletters.
But your odds are so much better for prospecting.
Yes, right. And marketing is important for the brand awareness, but if you're just doing Facebook posts and sending newsletters and never doing like the one-to-one type touches, it's going to be so much harder to get that traction. So make sure as you're looking at your activities, you're really looking at, okay, what am I doing for my prospecting and what am I doing for marketing? It's not that marketing isn't important, but if you only do marketing, it's a lot harder to get seen and remembered. What do you guys do for marketing versus prospecting?
Well, we do
You have
just
to do
listed
newsletter.
sold
Oh, yeah.
postcards, and we do the Greet LO magazine. But I mean, on this list, I don't think we do. We do social
Well, maybe
media
you have
stuff.
some ideas too, right? This just gets you thinking. So just make sure everything you're doing for lead gen, look at all the sales you've had so far this year and say, look where all of them came from. If you're doing 3 lead generation sources and almost all of your sales came from one, maybe you triple down your effort on that one, right? So just kind of looking at where you're spending your time and where you're spending your money. That's it for lead generation. Anything else on the lead gen model? Anyone want to add? Experiences?
I think it's super important to track your resources and know where the majority of your business is coming from.
Mhm.
We do that pretty regularly, but before I was doing that, you're putting time, energy, effort, potentially dollars
Yeah,
into what's not really bringing you the majority of your business. Like really, I hugely like to focus down on those top 1 to 2.
totally.
Like, look at your last, go to your last year and just look, where's the business?
Yeah, and most of our business comes from our sphere and our past client referrals, so. Most of our events are geared to doing something for them that they will get value from.
That's great.
What events do you have for the fall? For the rest of the year,
Well,
after you just had your client event?
We just had our big client event. We have a community outreach event we just did it late September.
What's
It's a
that?
coat drive for Northwest Children's Outreach.
Oh, cool.
And so we put that in our advertising, like that'll go into the Greed LO magazine that we're doing that. It goes out to our database, it's in our newsletter. So that's that. And then November, we'll do our pie thing. And those are our last 2 events for the year. And then we might throw in another workshop. We did 3 workshops. This year we did one on downsizing, one on home organizing, and one on, like we called it Love It or List It, and we brought in some general contractors.
Such good ideas. Yeah, you guys do a great job, but you're aware that your sphere is where you get a lot of that business. Look at
So
that.
let's back up because let's count up how many touches you're gonna have of your client base between now and the end of the year. So you said you just did an event.
Yeah, we probably do 5 or 6 events. So
You're gonna do a second post. You're gonna have a 4th quarter postcard,
Mhm.
at least one.
Yep.
You're going to have probably one, you're gonna have your outreach, your coat drive, your pie drive,
Mhm.
and you're gonna have
Newsletter,
newsletters,
phone call.
phone calls. That's how you do it, guys.
Mhm.
That's how you do it.
So yes, it helps to just write them out and see if you have enough, right? And if you don't, okay, what could I incorporate that is good? Or do I have too many and maybe they're not effective? Could I change what I'm doing? But for most people, they're probably not doing it enough consistently, right? Or you might send out some postcards and then stop. So just that consistency and the awareness of they know what they're gonna do for the year, right? Jenny, you guys do a thorough business plan, right? Yeah, so you know what events you're gonna have, what you're gonna spend, all of that, right?
And we revisit it quarterly.
Okay, that's great.
Have you outlined what you're doing to the end of the year?
Yeah. I mean,
She doesn't revisit quarter.
I have like a 3-year vision and then 1-year plan, and then we break out every quarter so that we can adjust.
Cool.
I love that, right? So it's great that we do a big business planning clinic at the end of every year, but it's also important to revisit it quarterly or at least mid-year to see if it's working, right? Also, when we do our business plans, we don't know what the market is going to be, what the economy is going to be. So sometimes, readjusting for that is important. I just have one more slide on the last model just to kind of look at the first step. So the organizational model just shows you when you're hiring, your first level is just you, and then second level, third, and it goes all the way up to the 7th level of having a big giant team, right? But one mistake that a lot of people make that I wanted to kind of just show is your first hire should be an admin, right? So sometimes when people start to grow a team, a lot of times they'll say, okay, I'm going to hire on a buyer's agent or showing assistant to start helping me. But following the MREA, you would want your admin first so that you can help set up processes, systems, operations. And then as you build upon that, go from there. So we won't go through all the organizational model today because it doesn't necessarily apply to everyone, but I thought it would be good just to show that second level right there of hiring your admin as your first admin. Because this is a mistake that a lot of teams make too, is growing first with like salespeople and buyer's agents and not slowing down to make sure the process and the operations are in place. Anyone want to add to that?
Yeah, I think the idea is like, there's a difference between luxury and leverage. So you hire an admin first so you can be even more productive and profitable by offloading stuff that's not revenue generating. If you jump into hiring a buyer's agent first, then you're like trying to manage yourself, 2 of you instead of actually having somebody to support you.
Yeah, you're gonna increase your business and there won't be anybody there to help you do it.
Right.
So the foundation part is you hire somebody and you train them how to help you do your business, and then you double your business by hiring a buyer's agent.
And it's really important that they do hire.
Yes, right?
Oh,
Eventually that happens.
that.
but That's the love for your system.
Yes, that's a good way to say that, right? I mean, you like look at that with everything now, even with like AI and all this stuff, right? Okay, so it's helping you do all these things, but what are you doing then with your time? Are you, are you using it to,
Wordle.
yeah, to talk to more people or have more conversations or things like that? So just really looking at how you're spending your time, your money, and where you're at. So thank you guys for participating in this conversation. Laura, this was fun. Come back next week. Yeah,
What are
I
your
know.
closing thoughts, Laura?
Oh my gosh, yeah. Sometimes the models aren't like the most exciting topics, but it's so important to have that good foundation and be looking at it. So if you need more copies of any of these worksheets, let me know. If you want digital copies, if you want help, come see any of us. If you want a copy of MREA, we believe in it. And then hopefully you guys will all stay for Jenny's listing presentation. But I hope you guys all have a great day. Thanks.